Hey everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of restock, and I also need to make some bread, and then I'm going to share supper with you guys as well, so come hang out with me. I'm going to go ahead and get started on the bread dough because that will take the longest. I'm going to do it in the bread machine. I'm using my favorite one. I just talked about this recipe the other day when I did the pizza pockets. If you missed that video, I'll have it linked down below for you guys. I'm using the same recipe, but I'm going to divide it into a loaf, and then I'm going to do some rolls. That way we have some rolls for supper tonight. So I have already bloomed my yeast, and it's just warm water, sugar, and I use active dry yeast. I always have. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that in first. I mentioned in the description box of the video where I shared this recipe recently, and I talked about the things that I do different compared to the recipe that will be linked down below. So I do active dry yeast, always have. I love active dry yeast. I use avocado oil in mine. I have used olive oil, but y'all know avocado oil is just my favorite right now. And then I have not ventured out and tried bread flour yet. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I don't know. All purpose is just easy, and I ain't got to worry about keeping another flour on hand, especially right now when we're in, tight space. So I've just used all purpose, and this recipe still turns out great. Also, I don't add any steam when I bake mine. It's already super soft and fluffy. I'm sure that, the steam would make it, just as soft and fluffy. But I've not done the steam or anything, and when I bake mine, I just bake mine normal in the oven at 350, and y'all, they turn out, this recipe turns out so good every time. Now I'm going to add in my salt, and then I'm just going to get it going in my bread machine and let it run its dough cycle. I forgot to add the oil, so I added it. Now we're going to let it run its course. I need to restock our pancake syrup, so I'm going to go ahead and make some more. It's super simple. I always have everything on hand. I don't necessarily follow a recipe per se. If we're having company, then, and if I need to make a lot of it, then I'll just do extra, if that makes sense. I'll make a bigger batch. But what I do is I do equal parts of the sugars. I do today I'm going to do a half a cup of each, but I just do equal cups, regular sugar and then brown sugar, and then I add in some water. This is 3/4 of a cup of water here, and let me get it measured out. My family does not I like maple syrup, but my family, the boys, do not like the maple flavor. So whenever, I started switching things and, having better options for us, I just quit buying the pancake syrup. And look, I said a half a cup, and I'm chit-chatting and not paying attention. So I just quit buying the pancake syrup, and Luke finally said something to me. He was like, honey, I hate to tell you, but I really don't like the flavor of maple. I was like, well, it's all right. We'll figure it out. So I found this, and I just do, whatever size batch I need for us. And you know, it's still thinner in my opinion than regular pancake syrup, but it tastes really good and it holds up well, you know, like in a mason jar storing it in your pantry. And this is what we use instead of maple syrup. You're just doing like a simple, you know, you're just making a simple syrup, which it's all, you know, it's just sugar water anyway. That's what pancake syrup is. But this is literally, you know, a few ingredients. You can add different extracts to it if you want to. I might throw in a little bit of vanilla today. Sometimes I will add like a tablespoon of butter. Sometimes I don't. Like, this is just one of these recipes that I just, you know, kind of restock with whatever I got on hand. So I'm just going to take and stir it. We're going to let the sugars melt. And then when it starts bubbling, what I like to do is I will keep an eye on it. And when it starts bubbling and I'm like, you know, still whisking it or, you know, moving it around with this spatula, when it gets to the point where it's bubbling enough that it won't bubble down when I'm stirring it, then I take it off the heat. And if I want to add, you know, extract or whatever, I'll add that in. Butter if I want to add that in, and then let it cool. And then I just store it in a mason jar. And we just keep it in the pantry. I think I do this like once a month. But like I said, you know, like if we're having company over and we're doing like a big breakfast or whatever, then I can do like, you know, a big batch of it. But with it just being the three of us here, for restocking it for us, then, you know, I just do like a small batch. So there's a lot of bubbles now. And as you can see, they're still staying there even though I am stirring it, so that it's not going down. So I'm just gonna give it like a minute. Add a little bit of vanilla. And then I'm just gonna let this cool. Now, since, like I said, since this is, you know, you're making a simple syrup, you know, you can use this in your coffee, teas, but we like it for pancake syrup. That's what that's what we use it for. So it's still a little bit, you know, it's runny, but it will thicken up when it cools, just a little bit. Just trying to show you. It kind of thickens up. I don't know if you can see that. Like, it's still thin, you know, but it also is not as thin as this. So when it cools, it will thicken up just a little bit. And even if I put butter in it, which I'm not this time, but even when I put butter in it, I still just keep it in my pantry, and I've never had any issues with it. But I normally like keep butter out anyway, so butter's not a big deal to me. So I'm just gonna let this cool, and then I will put it in a mason jar, and then I normally store it with, you know, like a lid like this, and then I just keep it in my pantry. Okay, now I'm gonna restock my homemade dry ranch mix. This is one of my favorites, but I feel like it's also one of those ones that you just kind of have to play around with, because I noticed when I made this the last time that I was adding more dill and more pepper to like whatever recipe that I was adding. So I am gonna add more of those this time for myself, but I will have the original recipe that I started using down below, and just play around with it and kind of, you know, adjust the seasonings to your liking, because, you know, ranch is something that is super basic, but there's like, you know, there's 1,000 different recipes for ranch. So just play around with it and adjust the seasonings to your liking. but all it calls for is dry buttermilk, which I barely have enough, y'all. Dried chives, parsley, salt, pepper, dill, minced onion, and then onion powder and garlic powder. So I'm gonna add everything into this mason jar, and then I just shake it up with the lid and keep it in the fridge. And then I use this for if I need to make ranch dressing. If I need like a packet of dry ranch, I just use the amount that it says on the recipe for, you know, to use this. So I'm just gonna mix it together. I need to restock my dry goods because I'm getting low. Since I don't, normally I do enough to fill this whole jar, but since I don't have enough dry buttermilk, we're just gonna do a batch, and then I'll get more later. I'm just gonna give it a shake. And then whenever I get more buttermilk, I'll add some more to this. But this will do me for now because I did need some for supper tonight. So this works great. Okay, the dough's done. So I'm gonna take and divide it up. I'm gonna do half a loaf of bread, and then I'm gonna do half rolls. I'm gonna do probably 6. I think I should be able to get 6 decent rolls out of a half of one. Just rolling it up, tucking the sides, and get them in the pan. And then I'm just going to take and let these sit and do another 30-minute final rise before I put them in my air fryer. So it looks like I got 7. You could weigh them out if you wanted to, if you wanted them exactly the same, but I don't really care. Just kind of pushing everything in the center, and then I take and pinch the top to seal it off. I'm just gonna finish the rest of these, and then I'll cover them with a towel and let them sit. And then about 15 minutes before I put them in the oven, I will preheat my air fryer, toaster oven, and you know, that way it's nice and warm and ready to go for the bread. Bread is done, so I'm gonna give it a rub down with some butter. And then the rolls, I'm not gonna put anything on the rolls, and I kind of did them lighter because I'll like warm them up tonight for supper, and then I'll put some butter on them once I warm them up. So but got bread done, restocked a little bit, got rolls done for tonight. So I will bring y'all back in about an hour or so whenever I get supper going in the crock pot. Okay, it's about lunchtime now, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these in. Since these pork chops are so thin, they're not gonna take long to cook at all. So I normally do about 4 hours. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these going. I was gonna do just 6, but we want a little bit of leftovers. So I think just doing this whole pack is gonna be fine. So I have salted and peppered this one side, then I'm gonna do the other side, and I'm just gonna get them added into the crock pot. I'm gonna kind of do layers, so we salt and pepper this side. I got the windows open because it feels so good today, so y'all are hearing all kinds of noises. So I have got a cup of water here, and I'm gonna add in 1 can. This is one of my home cans of cream of mushroom soup. And then I'm gonna do a packet, like what would be a packet worth of dry ranch and a packet worth of brown gravy. I do need to refill my brown gravy, so I need to do that soon. But I have already made this homemade brown gravy on here, so I will find that video and have it linked down below for you guys. And then y'all just watch me make the ranch. So I'm just gonna mix this all together, and then I'll pour like half of it over the pork chops, and then I'll do the other pork chops and then pour the rest of it over the top. And then I just bake them. I cook these on low for about 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours. It's just gonna depend on how thick or thin your pork chops are. And then to go along with this tonight, I'm gonna make some mashed potatoes. And then we have a couple cans of corn that I just home canned recently. So I'm also gonna do those as well. Good comfort food tonight. Luke, that's what Luke said. Luke said, I need some comfort food. I'm ready for it, so we're gonna do it up tonight. So I'm just gonna cover this and let it cook on low for about 4 hours. It is time to finish up supper, and y'all already know I'm gonna have to do a voiceover for this part because the kid husband, everybody's home, so the RV is just a little bit crazy. But we are just gonna do some corn, which I'm just gonna heat up one of my home cans. I just recently shared the home canned corn. I'll have that video linked down below in case you missed it. But I just dumped it in, and I just add like a tablespoon or two of butter, and I add a little bit of sugar. Like, this corn does not need a lot of sugar because it was super sweet, but I just do a little bit, and we're just gonna let that heat up. And then I just did some quick mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes, I just boil them and then drain off the liquid, add milk, butter, and salt, pepper, you know, just to taste. And I forgot, well, I couldn't find my hand mixer. I knew I brought it. I was like, I know I packed this thing in the RV. Well, I couldn't find it till after I did the mashed potatoes. And so I just pulled out my immersion blender really quick, you know, to just mix them up. And that was a mistake because it was like mashed potato pudding. Luke said they were fine, but I prefer, you know, just a good southern mashed potato, and the immersion blender was not it. And I definitely went looking for my hand mixer once I got done with this, because I was like, I've got to make sure to have that. If not, I'm gonna have to go look through the storage and find it, because my hand mixer is important. So it's all right. Mashed potatoes still tasted good. That's all that matters. But supper was super delicious, you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, I'll have any recipes that I have linked down below. But I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.